No one is perfect, not even the Uggs. But don't tell them I said that. Here are some screw-ups, edits, and extras from the last episode of The Ugly Truth. We call them Ugly Cuts.
I was getting my hair done, and my hairstylist is telling me about a client of his who, not her, but her best friend, her husband had passed away. And I said, oh, that's terrible. He goes, yeah, he was like 40-something. He was really young. And he had been ill for like a week. And the wife kept saying, you don't look right. You need to go to the doctor. And you know how men are. No, I'm fine. I just have the flu or whatever. So the day comes and she's like, you are practically green. You're so pale. Like you are literally looking like a vampire right now. And she called 911. The ambulance came and he was so mad. He refused treatment and they left. And he's like, fine, I will go to the doctor, but I'm going on my own. You can drive me. Fine. He goes, I'm going to go take a shower. He goes to take a shower, collapses in the shower, and he's dead. He died of he was bleeding internally from severe ulcers. And he'd been dying for a week. Like, he was bleeding. And the thing is, I'm sitting here listening to it, and I'm like, in my brain, I'm thinking, how did he not know that something was right when he was pooping? Because that's a first sign of bleeding, right? He was ignoring everything because he just didn't want to deal with it. And thinking, oh, I'm just sick, apparently. But I said, how do you reconcile with your anger of trying to, he probably would have lived had he gone to the doctors with the ambulance. Mm-hmm. But I'm like, can you imagine that memorial service? Standing around as the wife going, how pissed you are. You're like, I don't even know how to resolve my anger for him right now. He's dead.
Well, because you kept telling him and everything.
Yeah, and it's like, how do you resolve that? It's like, that is something that would be a hard thing to get over because they're not there anymore, but you're still pissed. It's like, that's a crazy, crazy thing. Moving on, before we do our ugly and awkward moment of the week, you were in HR for a really long time.
Yes.
I read this article the other day, and I wanted to get your take on it. I wanted to know what you thought of the whole situation. Okay. I'm going to paraphrase it because I can't find the article, but I know what it is. So this woman is at work, cubicle environment, and she has really bad cramps. And so she is using a hot water bottle on her uterus area while she's working. And now... I can assume why she's not using a heating pad, because that would even be more difficult to deal with, especially in a cubicle, so she's using a hot water bottle. A dude walks up to talk to her about something and he goes, oh, what's going on with the hot water bottle? She goes, oh, cramps, whatever. And he got really freaked out a little bit and he's like, oh, and he backs away and he leaves. 2 hours later, HR calls her into a meeting, saying it's really inappropriate for you to disclose your medical maladies with others. So we're going to ask you that if you are suffering so much that you need to use an apparatus, that you need to go home. And it was a warning. And that was the end of it. And now, to me, I thought that was ridiculous because they said you made your fellow coworker really uncomfortable by disclosing your malady. And so he complained to HR. So on first glance, you go, well, what an idiot for being so uncomfortable with someone having cramps that he had to literally call HR. But in this society, things are very different now. Everyone's very sensitive now. Now, I personally would have been pissed. But once HR steps in, there's nothing you can do, right? I mean, it's really hard to say, you're being ridiculous. A lot of people are saying that HR was out of line and that they should have schooled this guy. But when you're going by the letter of the law, it's probably not considered out of line. So I was curious what you thought. If someone came to you and said, Susie is using a heating pad, or Susie's using a hot water bottle. When I asked her about it, she told me why, because she's on her period, and I'm freaking out right now because she's literally bleeding next to me in my cubicle, and it's freaking me out. I mean, how would you handle that?
Well, I mean, the thing is that she would have been better off just saying it's personal. instead of going into, you know, what specifically is going on to her. Because let's just say the shoe was on the other foot and she walked up on a man who had a heating pad on his lap.
Right.
And she's just like, oh, what's going on? He's just like, oh, I have an enlarged prostate.
Right.
And
Yeah.
she's just like, whoa, like TMI,
Right.
you know, or something like that. So what would have been appropriate is to talk to both of them and just say, if you don't really want to know the answer to the guy,
Right.
then don't be asking the question, okay? To the girl, saying, you know, if you're having a specific medical, you know, issue, one, you shouldn't be sharing it with other people.
Right.
You know, it could make other people uncomfortable, and you don't know who those people are.
Right.
You know, just say that you're having a personal issue. You know, if it's so bad and if maybe their policy is that if you have to use some sort of medical device or something like that, then, you know, they don't want to be responsible for, you know, if it escalates further.
Right,
and
right.
you know, it's to the point where medically she's not able to do her job without using this medical device, then maybe
Right.
she should just go home.
Isn't it funny how something that seems so benign as a discussion is actually not so benign?
Well, it's
HR
just
wise.
yeah, I mean, there's the thing is HR is almost like a different language.
Yeah.
And so when you hear it, like what I just said, it makes sense.
Right. Yeah, it does.
But it's not common sense.
No,
you know?
it's not. It's not. That's the
So-
thing I've noticed when you have told me stories about HR, when I go, you know, a normal human would be like, dude, get over your fucking self. Go back to work and stop being an asshole. That's what I would want to say. But HR doesn't see it that way. They're almost like attorneys. They have to see both reasonable sides before they weigh their not even opinion. It's not an opinion. That's the thing. It's letter of the law type stuff. And
Kind of.
I think that's why HR people get such a bad rap, because it's not like you're sitting there going, you would have told the guy to get a life and just move on with himself. It's like, well, clearly you don't have a girlfriend or a mother, because if you did, you would know that this happened. So get back to work and stop wasting everyone's time.
Right.
But
I would, but I mean, it's just, you just have to tell him that, it's unfortunate that he was offended, but also he needs to not be asking leading questions.
Well, that's what I would, that's
take him down a road that are
where he digs himself in. Mm-hmm.
Where he finds himself being offended.
Exactly.
So
ridiculous.
Anyways.
Well, there you go. Well, if I come up across any more, I'm going to ask you.
Yeah.
Because it sounds boring, but it's not, because HR is different than normal people. Like, of course, the social media world was outraged. They were outraged that this woman wasn't allowed to. Honestly, if I saw one of my employees with a water bottle, I probably would have a problem with it, but I wouldn't say anything unless it became a thing. Like, oh, I'm just filling up my water bottle in the break room or something. I mean, you know what I mean? Because now it becomes a spectacle.
Well, and it's just, is it to the point where you can't work without using this? And then that's where they probably are just like, maybe you should
go.
Like, go home, because they don't want to become responsible for anything, like,
right.
of anything. Like,
I get it.
If she can't work without this thing, then, she's not fully able to do her jobs.
Walking around with a water bottle all day.
Some sort of accommodation. So.
God. And then she's going to sue. And then she gets a settlement. But that's because that's where all the good stuff is now. All the stuff that you can buy, just walking around next to the Band-Aids is worthless. At least it is to me. I've never found any of that stuff to work. And I just feel like I'm drinking sugar. Or even the pills,
I had pretty good luck with the Mucinex stuff, so...
I have heard that. I don't like it. I get the sweats and stuff. I get, like, cold sweats. I don't like it. It's weird.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's supposed to do that, because I think it's supposed to break the fever, but I don't like it. I feel gross. So I just...
Well, it makes you really runny, I'll tell you that much.
Yeah, I can imagine. God.
So,
Oh, you have to watch Glow on Netflix. You'll love it.
Glow?
Yes.
Okay.
It's about how the gorgeous ladies of wrestling began. It's really, really good.
Oh.
Promise.
Okay.
Kids can't watch it, but there's only 8 episodes, so you'll get through it. And they're only 30 minutes each, so you'll blow through it.
Okay.
All right, Ed.
Sounds good.
Thanks for checking out this week's Ugly Cuts. Join us for an all-new episode dropping every Sunday on your favorite podcast platform and, of course, uglytruth.com. That's UGLEE truth.com.